այր հողի Ինչ սրտով պիտի մտնենք անկողի Ամժամ չտխրես, շատ չմտածես Կռիվ ենք գնում ախպեր սույես Ամժամ չտխրես, շատ չմտածես Կռիվ ենք գնում ախպեր սույես Մռայլ գիշերեն ստացենք հոսում Այստեղ հայք հաջի արյուն է հոսում Եկել ենք կռիվ, կռվում ենք այսպես Խփում ենք թուրքին ախպեր սույես Եկել ենք կռիվ, կռվում ենք այսպես Խփում ենք թուրքին ախպեր սույես Երբ լուսաբացին թուրքը լերն է սողում Մեր զիլ հարվածից աշխարհն է թնդում Ինչքան պետք լինի կկռվենք այսպես Հայ ազգի համար ախպեր սույես Ինչքան պետք լինի կկռվենք այսպես Հայ ազգի համար ախպեր սույես
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Happy Wednesday. So I'm very happy to introduce our guest for tonight, Anna Asvadzurian Turkut. She has a very powerful mission. I would like her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her story.
Welcome, Anna.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to first meet you guys, and then obviously support all the work that you're doing for Buy Armenia. So I'm excited that you wanted to collaborate and do this. So thank you very much. My name is Anna. I was born in Baku, Azerbaijan. And I was at 10 years old when the Sumgait massacres started, when the Karabakh movement started. And so for majority of my life, I'm 42, for 75% of my life, Karabakh movement shaped it. And I came to United States at the age of almost 14, living in Armenia during the blockade, during the war, and then coming to United States as refugees in 1992, and went to law school, started a family, tried to forget what happened to us, and tried to build my life privately, helping obviously the relatives and some initiatives, Armenian initiatives, but doing it very privately. And when I had two kids, when my daughter was born, I don't know what happened to me, but I started perhaps associating having a daughter. I had first my son, and so that was obviously very powerful to have a child. But when I had my daughter, I started kind of relating like my childhood to hers, and how started kind of having flashbacks to my life, and decided that I needed to be more involved. And one of the things I decided to do was I had diaries I had as a child, writing during the pogroms, during the massacres, during the year and a half that we lived in Baku in pretty much hiding. And I had those diaries translated into English when I was a child. So between ages of 14 and 16, when we first came to US, I was translating them for my future kids who might not speak Russian. The diaries were in Russian. And so when my daughter was born, I said, okay, I have to publish this because Artsakh conflict is still ongoing. And I published it. And so my public life kind of started at that point when the book came out, and I was invited to speak on Capitol Hill. So the last 9-10 years, I've been pretty much on the road speaking about my story in relation to Artsakh. And then the last 5 years, I've been doing a lot of humanitarian and philanthropic work because of the power of the social media. The more people knew about me, the more they wanted to be involved in the projects I was working on. And so I was able to do a lot with that. And so here I am working on my next project, probably the biggest one to date. So.
Can you go ahead and tell us what that project is, how it came about?
Yes. So so when the massacres in 1990s happened against the Azerbaijan population of Armenian descent, a lot of us fled. You know, it was in waves. As Sumgait was happened, it was shocking. We didn't think it was going to repeat. Then Kirovabad, and then the last one was in Baku in 1990. And as these refugees were coming, the war started, and the Armenian government did not do a good job in understanding the type of loss, the type of, you know, how many people left, how many people were killed, what did we lose, right? Both financially and property. You know, I bet you the apartment that I had in Baku cost $2-3 million now, prime real estate. So like they couldn't quantify the loss, and they had big things to worry about, like the collapse of the Soviet Union and so on and so forth. But to this day, you know, 30 years later, the people that talk to me about this conflict and see me as an expert in the type of this type of information, they ask me for, you know, how do you know, why won't you start a project to gather that data? It's lost because it's all over the world. Baku Armenians fled everywhere, and so I think it's somewhat too late because many people died. In the last 30 years, a lot of information was lost. So this war triggered a question for me in October. Is the Armenian government doing something as these refugees are fleeing? And the response I got was, well, it's too early because the war is not over yet and these people might go back to their homes. And then on November 9th, it was done, right? So so I asked again and nothing was being done. So I took it kind of upon myself to gather a team in Armenia and also in the United States to work on getting the right type of questions in a questionnaire that we could use to, it's almost like a census. At first, we wanted to concentrate specifically on refugees lost things in Hadrut, in Shushi, and all those regions that we lost. But then it was made, it was pretty apparent that even the ones that stayed lost something, whether it was a bombed home, wounded son, loss of a job. So we decided to do a complete census of the entire population. And we created a questionnaire with the help of the Arman Tatoyan, who is the Ombudsman Human Rights Defender of Armenia, Artak Beglarian, who was Artsakh Human Rights Defender, and now works in the administration of the president, and the sociologists from Yerevan State University. We had some input, and actually having input right now from professors at UCLA and Columbia on that questionnaire. It's 45 pages long. So it's comprehensive. It's covering medical, psychological, financial, understanding the education, understanding how many children, ages, and so the information is going to be used to help immediately, right? We want this project to complete soon so that they can start helping. And so many organizations here in the United States don't know what they need. And frankly, our government really doesn't know. So Mania Tandilian is the Minister of Social Affairs in Artsakh. She's going to use that data to immediately start programming to help. At the same time, I think that Arman Tatoyan will be able to use that data for his human rights work. And if there are any legal, potential legal ramifications that could be used in court of law against Azerbaijan. That data, it will be freely available. Obviously, we're going to respect the privacy of the people that we're surveying, but it will be statistical data. We're also concerned with the borders opening. And once the borders open after COVID and after the military situation and it calms down, people will leave. So, especially people that are lost. So we want to get that information for historical purposes quickly as well. And, I always kind of equated to the Armenian genocide. We still have researchers trying to understand what happened. And here we have this data available. We really need to do this soon. So that's the details of the project and how it kind of came about.
It sounds like an all-encompassing project. I'm sure it's going to require a lot of resources, whether it's human resource, experience resource, financial resource.
Yes.
Have you and your group budgeted what this would cost, or?
Yes, it's fully budgeted. We are very lucky that we have a French organization that's going to cover the Armenian side of this project. So any Artsakh residents that live in Armenia, and there are, I think, about 11,000 families, is going to be covered by this French organization, human rights organization, which is great. They can't work in Artsakh, so they're helping us with providing us with about 100 iPhones. So the iPhones will be using the software to input that information into the questions. So it uploads immediately. It's not by paper. It's not going to get lost. It's going to be secured and instant. And the Society of Armenian Social Workers is putting in a lot of their own resources to make this happen. This is important to them, not only to develop this project, but to develop the maintenance of social services in Artsakh, to establish a base that they can work off of. So the overall budget is huge, but because of so many different kind people that are volunteering their expertise and their resources, it is slimmed down to about 85,000. 60,000 of that budget is going to be used on salaries. So we're already hired and trained this weekend 100 Armenians from Artsakh how to take these surveys, and they will be, mostly young people that need jobs. So 60,000 will be going to Artsakh. We're actually going to donate it so that they don't have to, it's not a salary, so that they don't have to pay taxes on it. So it goes right into their pocket. But the 25,000, it will cover the buses, the driving, it's all of regions of existing regions of Artsakh that they can access, software, any equipment that they will need. So that would be 25,000. So overall, so far we raised 30,000. That would cover the beginning. And I'm looking at 55,000. So I'm thankful for you and your viewers to listen to this project. It's not as inspiring as others, right? Helping children like we did. I raised 25,000 in 2 weeks, buying Christmas gifts for our 1,500 kids in Artsakh. That was super easy. But this project is it's hard to explain it. What is this? And so I'm trying to meet it with as many people as possible to talk about it, so that they understand where the money is going for, and that it has long-term ramifications, not instant as food and shelter, which is important, but long-term understanding of what this war did to our people.
It's very important project. So I ask everyone who's watching it, please, it's public, just share it on your newsfeed. Let everyone just spread it as much as possible, so people know about Anna and her project.
So yeah, they can donate. I was just going to say what you had just mentioned. Like you said, during Christmas, by Armenian also did a New Year's Eve project, and and that was very successful. And like you said, the response was great because there's almost an instant gratification. You know, they're
Yeah.
going to have
Right.
dinner on New Year's Eve. This one, it's a little bit more, you have to think a little deeper and have to think a little bit further out to
Yeah.
know the value of this, but it's no less important.
Absolutely. And I think that that's where we kind of fail as a community, is
Right.
that we don't look long term. We think immediate, instant, and then we move on. Similar with Tavush. I raised $50,000 in 5 days during Tavush 4 for bomb shelters that I did with Pahapan Foundation. We did 2 bomb shelters that overall we raised 100,000 in 4 weeks. But we built those bomb shelters. They were very important, and but that's instant, right? You build it and you move on. In this case, it's data, but data, knowledge is power, and knowledge, with that data, we can go after, whether it's helping people, whether it's putting it in front of European parliamentarians and say that many children have no homes, and that many veterans don't, their humanitarian organizations need to come to Artsakh because there are long-term, medical and psychological issues. And without that data, it's just our word. So I'm glad that this is done I'm not a sociologist, I'm a lawyer, I'm a writer. And a banker, but I have a team of incredible, dedicated people that put, hours and hours, and the management of this project, both obviously me, but both individuals in Yerevan State University, professors that are doing it free, for free, and they just came back from Artsakh, and it was a very emotional trip for them. And I'll just kind of explain to you why it's emotional for me. I met a Baku refugee in Shushi in 2019, and she was married to a Russian man, and she had a Russian last name in Baku, so she didn't think that she would get hurt. And in 1991, she was still in Baku. And she was captured for about a month with her 6-year-old son. At the time, her husband died already. And I think he was either died during the war, he was not there. And she was tortured for a month in every way possible. Her 6-year-old son was burned with cigarettes, and he's now serving in the Artsakh military. And so I met her, she was sweeping the park, and someone said, I was helping the Baku refugees at the time, it was 2 years ago. And she said, well, she's from Baku too, you have to meet her. And I talked to her, and she looked very old. And I thought, she must be in her 70s, or, she must be in her 80s. And she was in her 50s, and she had no teeth. And, they knocked out all her teeth. And so, of course, like talking to her, and she's telling me about what happened to her, I'm like, I'm ready to fall apart and cry. And she just holds my hand and says, oh, don't worry about it. It's all done. I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm living my life in Artsakh. And so it was very inspiring. Every time I go to Artsakh, it's very inspiring. So the war, obviously Shushi, that's where she lived. And I looked for her for several months after the war, and I asked the people that connected me, and they finally found her. She lives in Stepanakert with her son, who still serves on the border. But one thing I'll note, when I left, we gathered some funds and got her dentures so that she could eat normally, because she didn't have teeth and she was only 55. And so when I talked to her on the phone, 3 or 4 days ago, when I found her, she was telling me that she was in Shushi until November 6th, and she was so sad. She's just so sorry that she left everything, her house, her pictures, photographs, everything she owned. She just fled until November, November 6th. And she apologized to me that she left her dentures. And of course, like I, of course, just lost it. That she lost so much twice in her life. And that's, and she's like, brought me so much joy. I could eat for 2 years. At least I was happy for 2 years. And I'm like, oh my God. And what devastated me the most about that story is that her loss in 1991 was not recorded. Her loss in 2020 will be recorded with this project. She lost twice in so many, devastating ways. And she's just worried about my feelings and that, I did this kindness for her and that she lost her dentures. And then another thing that was, devastating for these, people that I love is I will get her dentures again, but I can't get her home back. And in order for her life to be completely fulfilled, the government of Artsakh and Armenia need to do things. I can't, as an individual and a refugee myself, I don't come from a lot of money to be able to help, people of Artsakh. And so this data is a way for me to be able to put it in front of them and say, this is how many homes you need. This is how many people that need psychological care. This is how many people need medical care and dental care. And so she's kind of she's my kryptonite when I think about it. Like, I will be strong all year long, and then someone like that just, completely I was completely undone that day. I was just, but she's so strong. She was laughing. Her son came back from the post. She was so happy that he was alive, and she lives in a hotel in Stepanakert. And there's so many stories like that. And but anyway, that's just my personal connection to people of Artsakh who continue to give me hope. I know that, I talked to Artak Beglaryan with the president's office and yesterday, and one of the things that they know they need is a center for psychological care that they don't have in a mass scale, right? So not just veterans, not just few people, but a lot of people. So the extension of this project will be the needs, and then more projects will come after that. And I'm thankful that, last year I rolled out Anas Vasturian Foundation so that I can do this, and people can donate with the tax deduction. And those projects will be possible. So if people are watching, it's astvatsaturian.org is where you can go, and the first project that I have is up there.
We can type it in the comments after the.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to just reiterate, which you mentioned, it's a great thing, and that's this project that you're doing. It's also creating jobs for local people from Artsakh, and that's a great thing. And that's the salaries that you talked about, but also the other $25,000 that you said, it's about, for driving and cars, and so that's going to generate income for some people. Of course, it may be a drop in the bucket, but at least it's something for some people, and that will, do a little bit at least until something else happens. Maybe another project comes along, or so.
Well, and one thing that yes, of course, the salaries, the 3 or 4 months that they will be paid is feeding their families. It's also keeping them in Artsakh. I think that Artsakh without Artsakhtsis is nothing. And it provides training. So we're training them professionally, training them. and they will be able to carry on their people going forward. This is social services, social work that is incredibly grueling. So we provide training, not just how to fill out a form, but how do you talk to someone who has been through such loss? What do you say? What do you don't say? And so they'll be able to be kind of pillars of their society after this project is over, because they'll have the skills. But you're right. Like every time we do training, we order food and we book a hotel or order. We'll try to raise enough so that each region, there are 4 regions that we're covering, we'll get them computers, so that if we do have documentation of property ownership, that either we take it with those cell phones or we scan them. So that equipment is going to stay with municipalities. It's going to support their economy, and it's small, but it's 85,000 in 3 months. It's not bad. So
it goes along well with what Lilith always talks about, and that is to teach these people how to fish rather than give them the fish, so that
Eventually.
after the project, they can take what they've learned from your project and then use it for earning money in the future. So that's
and I will say that that could be true for the rest of Armenia. I think the people of Artsakh have always known how to fish. I think what inspires them the most is that someone's paying attention. Someone cares. That mental morale boost is so much more than the money that we're bringing. That someone cares to get a child a gift, or someone cares to write down the house that I lost, that my grandfather's house, or or that how many days, how many months was your child out of school, because that could be it's a human right to be in school. And if you're out of school, we need to quantify that. We need to understand that. So so the help, that the fact that a lot of people say, like, you're Baku Armenian, like you weren't born in Artsakh, you were not born. My grandfather is from Hanzaresk, Sunik, and it's right next door to Artsakh. So I completely feel connected, even though I literally grew up in the United States. And so we are a network of, relatives, and we have to help each other. So
true. And they have been through a lot. Even thinking about it, for me, it's very overwhelming, and I cannot handle it sometimes. So I can imagine the people over there living it. It's very, very overwhelming.
So this project to me is also important because we will be able to have the data in the United States to advocate for Artsakh politically. In my state of Maine today, I dealt with 3 Azerbaijani related events. One was a city, mayor proclamation. Another was an event on Hocalı commemoration vigil for Hocalı, and another was a conference on Hocalı. And they're making these events out of nothing, out of air. We need to have data of real loss. We talk about massacres in Baku, but we can't pinpoint the evidence, right? So so many people in this international organization recorded that so many people lost their homes, and it's data is everything, and it's indisputable. So this way we can advocate for Artsakh. We can go to our senators, and I've been doing that for the last 10 years, going to Capitol Hill, calling your state senators, calling your federal senators, your representatives, and having power in those numbers. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. I just hope to get enough money to get it done. I think I will. I have so many different events like this kind of scheduled around around United States. Hopefully we'll get some in France as well. And little by little, $5, $10, like that helps so much, because $10, we're going to be paid $10 a day. That's one person and one day. So,
when is the official start date for your project?
so this weekend they did the training. They are officially starting next week, and we have the funds, we have everything in place to start. Mani Tandilan is the minister. She's helping coordinate that. There's so many different nuances that you don't think about. Like, people are terrified to open their door to a stranger. Imagine doing a census. We need to prepare them, and we're trying to figure out how to do that in the right way, so that Aziris next door and Shushi don't, figure out, oh, I can just knock on the door and get in that way. So it's so complicated. So I think a week or 2 weeks we'll start actually doing the interviews.
And how long do you anticipate the entire project to take? How long have you budgeted? Like 6 months, 3 months, 1 year?
3 months. So we want to do 3 months. We're going to have a 4th month to calculate do analysis of the data. We will at the end hire experts, legal expert, humanitarian expert, and social work expert to do a final report on the findings. And so that will be, into month 5 and month 6. But the actual collection will take only three months. We want to do quickly. That might change, because right now we're thinking 25,000 families in Artsakh. That might change. We might have less. If the borders open, we might have more, when those 11,000 families from Armenia might move back if they're building homes. So it's, it's hard to say. And the fact that we're working with numbers we're estimating, we don't really know. So, but if we don't finish in the first 3 months, and if the funding continues, we'll continue doing the survey.
You want to read some of the questions?
You can. I want to, excuse me. I want to make a, catalyst. When I used to take chemistry classes, and you do this experiment, and then the first catalyst you put in, and the ice starts, and then the whole thing becomes ice. So
you want to be the firework.
we want to start by donating $1,000 to your project.
Oh my goodness! Thank you so much. You are definitely a firework. Thank you. No, that's amazing. And
40,000 member. If each member donate just
$1,
$10, just calculate it. It's like, we can do this. We can do this as a team.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's don't make me cry, because I already cried. But it is incredible what we can do together. And this war, although it was devastating, and a lot of things were disappointing, and people were disappointing, our own people were disappointing, how we came together during the war, the diaspora, we're a huge network. And Azeris have oil, we have ourselves, we have the network, we have the resources, we have the expertise, we have talent. Any Armenian you see around the world is always successful. That's why we're envied, that's why we're targeted, because we're successful. I think what keeps us from moving forward is not having that long-term mindset. And so this, to me, is you were thinking long-term, and you're contributing to the future of Artsakh and the future of Armenia. Having data is everything, and it will help the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to be able to talk, as diplomats across the world, and how, how amazing is that, that we can contribute to that.
Good. So I reiterate what Lilith said to our members, donate whatever you can, whatever you feel comfortable with. Don't feel pressured. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I don't know how you can't after hearing your story. So
thank you. Thank you.
Hopefully, maybe by tomorrow
I will make a post and tag you with it. So, and then make an announcement sharing your organization and the fundraising link. So, on Buy Armenian. So
thank you. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. I don't know how many people are watching, and I don't know if there are questions, but you guys can reach out to me anytime. I have an official page with about 40,000 followers. That, that's the easiest way to reach me. It's Anna Svatsaturian Turcot.
And there was a question, how can we get in touch with you? So I'll tag you so they know, they don't have to just click on your name and then follow you or send you a friend request.
I think or just donate.
Or just join. Yeah, exactly.
Donate and say hello. That would be nice.
Data. This one was answered, I think. Collecting the data. Okay, I'm reading some of the questions.
And so if you want to donate directly to the foundation, it's Astvatsaturian with IAN, astvatsaturian.org. There will be a donation via PayPal. If you want to donate through Facebook, you can do that, and that is, I believe, is tagged to this event.
Yeah, this is a great project, Anna, and thank you for stepping up and doing this project. It would be nice to reach all displaced residents who also found refuge in villages and not necessarily are in Yerevan or Stepanakert or in big cities and have lost their homes. Since it might be impossible to reach all, is there a way they can contact your organization and inform about their losses, and how can they do it? So I guess, can they contact you through your...
They can absolutely contact me, but I will tell you, that's why we need that extra 25, right? So we're paying for salaries, but we're also paying for buses and the transportation. And it's going to be, we're going to be going to those villages. And we have a basic idea where everyone lives, even in Armenia, this French organization that's handling the Armenian side. They will be going village to village, and we're also, working with the schools. If we're not aware where people are, we find out through schools how many new kids did they have that came from Artsakh. That's a way to reach family too. I know I tried to reach when the war first started and the Artsakh families were start having babies. The hospitals knew. And we sponsored about 25 or 30 kids. We gave them funds for being, born in such horrific circumstances. But we found them through hospitals as well. So there are ways to find people, but if they can't find us, absolutely contact me directly, Svatsaturian, Turcot, on Svatsaturian Turcot on Facebook or svatsaturian.org. There is the Society of Armenian Social Workers is handling the logistics of this project. They don't have a social media presence, but I will be putting you in touch with them.
Someone's asking, can you name those 4 regions again? Where they're going to be doing.
Right. So we're, the remaining, we kind of split them up. So the Stepanakert is the biggest one. And then so the remaining Artsakh is split into, I think, easily accessible regions that will be working with the social affairs ministry to kind of, one will have one team leader, another will have another team leader. So it's not necessarily a region, but we're splitting them up in those 4 sections.
Very good. Rafi already shared your links.
So Rafi is my big supporter.
We have to mention Rafi because Rafi Berberian is the one who connected us. So it would be
yes. It will be wrong not to talk about Rafi, of course.
Yes.
So Rafi Berberian is an amazing photographer that lives in Philadelphia. And I met him when I was being filmed in a documentary in Armenia. And he was working on that documentary as a filmmaker. And we traveled around Armenia in being filmed in strange locations all around Artsakh. And that's how we met. And he's been a huge supporter of my work and my sounding board sometimes, with a great sense of humor. And if you ever need his, amazing photos of Artsakh, he's lived in Armenia for a couple of years, I believe, and has amazing shots. So support his work, and I hope that, I know you guys talked about communicating and collaborating, so that would be great.
Rafi, you can put your website under the comments as well here. So
yes, a shameless plug for you. But I do have, it's incredible. Like, this journey just took me across all over the world. I have friends all over the world just by mere speaking. Like in Austria, I spoke at the Austrian, Vienna municipality, and I had a bunch of Azerbaijani embassy staff come and try to harass me. And I have a team in Austria that supports and loves me. So it's like that all over. And I wouldn't be able to do, last year I raised $150,000 just, for Tavush and the war, and the incredible social media opportunities to connect to people and make that impact, even with that $5 that you can donate. People always talk about that, but when you do it yourself, it's like, wow, I can't believe that I can do that. And I think the personal excitement I have, the personal dedication I have, probably has something to do with it, but it's also finding the right projects, not just doing it blindly. I want to make sure that they're impactful, that I'm not wasting anyone's money or anyone's time. And I think this one is it.
Very good.
very good.
Thank you for taking the time and going over the really, I think, really important project. Like we said, long-term effect, and hopefully one day the data can be used to get something back. I don't know how, but at least have the data there just in case. So thank you for doing this, and thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight.
And thank you so much for your generous donation. That's incredible. And thank you everyone for watching. I hope I made more friends today. So thank you, and definitely friends with you guys. So when this COVID is over, I'll be visiting.
Welcome.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good